Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this AI Accelerator webinar today, which is going to provide you with a tour of AI by country. I'm Sarah Burnett. I'm a member of the BCS Women Committee, and I chair the AI Accelerator program. The talk promises to be both interesting and insightful, but because we know it's lunchtime and how precious your time is, we are keeping it short and going around the world in literally 20 minutes. We will have a Q&A session at the end as well. I'm delighted to welcome our distinguished speaker, Dr. Adam Bujak, who is a CEO and co-founder of KYP.ai, an intelligent process and digital transformation mining software company. Previously, Adam was head of the intelligent automation practice at Capgemini, in charge of executing projects and programs for multinational clients using technologies such as artificial intelligence, robotic process automation, and analytic solutions. Adam holds a PhD in strategic management and a master's degree in banking and finance. He has lived on 3 continents, and I think the fact that he's lived in many different geographies makes him an absolutely perfect speaker for this talk of AI by geography. So I hope you join me in giving Adam a warm welcome. Adam, over to you. The stage is all yours.
Thank you very much, Sarah. Thank you for having me. Really appreciate. Let me start on an important note. Be the change you wish to see in the world, said once Mahatma Gandhi. This inspiring statement accompanies me throughout the years, reminding me at the same time that it is up to me to decide whether I am going to shape the future, or otherwise I leave it to others who will define where I work, what I do, and how I live my life. So you are in charge of your own destiny, and therefore it is also your choice whether you want to be part of the artificial intelligence growth or not. Let us jump quickly to the flow of the session. We're going to look whether it makes a difference where you live. And for those of you who may find out afterwards, I may not be in the perfect location, I want you to keep calm and continue exploring AI, also with the younger part of the generation, maybe your children. We're going to close looking at key AI statistics you should be aware of, and as Sarah said earlier, jump right away to question and answer session. It is interesting to see which countries have the most startups and funding in the AI space. Facing over proportional growth, AI is predicted to generate revenues totaling $118 billion by 2025. And according to Crunchbase data, over 650 AI startups were established in the last 2 years. A summary on this slide shows top 10 locations of fast-growing AI startups worldwide, as well as the funding that these companies have received. This overview indicates whether you may be living in a country that aspires to participate in the artificial intelligence race. It should make you think, in case your country is not on the list, whether it isn't high time to maybe plan your relocation. I have lived so far in 2 of the countries listed here, India and Germany, and seriously ask myself more frequently now, where shall my children grow up if they are to participate in the battle for a better future? Although China has the 2nd largest number of researchers who have published AI papers or registered patents in the last decade, the proportion of those considered to be in the top 10 of the field is smaller than in other AI leading nations. Nature estimates that US has more than 5,000 top AI researchers, whereas China, Germany, UK, France, and Spain operate at a comparable level of roughly 1,000 top research individuals. Keeping in mind that it is just the beginning of the race, it is now time to invest in talent present both at the universities, in the business, but also not forgetting the youngest who are obviously our future. If you have not been exposed heavily to AI so far, I would recommend to start playing with it. If you have children at home, it would be very funny to start training your machine learning models, for instance, recognizing the faces of the entire family, as you see here on this small video. If your children are clever enough, ask them to connect it with the doorbell camera and let your family members automatically enter the house with a smart lock installed right at your front door. Machine learning models using teachable machine from Google that you see here as an example are allowing you to not only build image recognition models, but also compare different sounds and poses of your body. Imagine how many applications these cases may have if you transfer it to your daily life. In order to make your acceleration faster, I have pasted a list of experiments you can make with your children, clicking at the links on the right side of this slide. You are going to have lots of fun with it, and with some luck, you may inspire a young generation to embrace the future. Now I would like to focus on the 3 key AI-related statistics you should be aware of. Let us start with the process. I have a recommendation for you. Go to your CEO, or alternatively, if you don't have access directly to the CEO, ask your boss, how much revenue are we generating directly from processes relying heavily on artificial intelligence? The simple test may allow you to judge whether you're in the right spot. If your boss is not able to answer this question, or the number seems insignificant, have a look at the global AI ranking by revenue generated from different use cases. It starts with vehicular detection and avoidance, goes through image processing, patient data analysis, algorithmic trading, predictive maintenance, cybersecurity, HR, medical applications of artificial intelligence. Or maybe you are part of a rising AI start that is not visible here yet, but will generate a massive revenue in the future. It is definitely not too late to ask yourself this question. Am I in the right business? Let's have a look on this one. You may be aware that the Olympic events of the future may be actually a battle that can be won before you enter the stadium through the computing power analyzing the key strengths and weaknesses of your competition. The short rugby analysis show you how AI is able to interpret the game key elements, enabling the teams to improve and obviously win. How do organizations and leaders perceive AI? Two-thirds of respondents consider AI and machine learning to be game changers. The interesting dimension is also connected with operational improvements, leading to signaling out opportunities based on data and boosting productivity. Almost 50% of the organizations have already defined their AI strategy, and more than 60% say AI and machine learning are their most significant initiative. Isn't it great? Let us move to the benefits of AI adoption. While looking at this dimension, I have made a following discovery I want to share with you. It really depends whether your company operates primarily with the left or right side of the organizational brain. Why? As you know, the left side of our brain is much more analytical. So all the benefits coming from AI are having an operational nature. How much do I save? Where can I improve deploying AI to the existing processes, and so on and so forth. The emotional part asks, what is the new business model? How can I redesign our approach to embrace the new? How could we benefit to go to the completely new areas? 79% of analyzed companies state that AI makes work easier and more efficient. This is the left side of the brain. 75% see a potential to generate new business models, moving to completely new ventures. More right side of the brain. 72% say AI foolproofs their business for the future, and 59 say that it improves the use of big data in their organizations. Here you see an example of both left and right side of the brain. Isn't it amazing? I'm wondering, how do you reflect on your own company? Are your leaders using the analytical or emotional side? Maybe both of them. At KYP, we help our clients to create an impactful melange of human and machines, with the human, of course, in the center. We are a digital transformation mining company that offers data-driven and fully automated identification of AI deployment opportunities. We drive recommendations, business case calculation, and monitoring of digital transformation progress. And we are now working on predictive enterprise steering enhancements of our product. Being a very young company, we have corporate clients already on 3 continents. And I'm extremely humbled to say that we generate 100% of the revenue with direct help of AI. So thanking you for your attention today. I want to close with the first slide. It is really up to us how we respond to change. Sarah, over to you.
Thank you, Adam. That was a very interesting set of stats about the way that AI is progressing in different countries. I particularly liked your chart about helping children become familiar with AI. Would you mind going back to that and telling us a bit more about what we can do, perhaps,
Absolutely.
in our sort of homes and families, how we can encourage children to learn more about AI?
There is so many toys that utilize machine learning. I have 2 small children at home, 6 and 10, and I must say experiments is what they like the most. Right? We did the teachable machine once. And he said, "Oh, Daddy, this is an opportunity. I could lock my room and do not allow others to enter if they are not recognized." So I would say, number one, drive their interest in this direction. And you know, when you go through this points here on a slide, it's really exciting. You can make drawings that and recognize what you are drawing. You can merge faces. There's lots of interesting stuff. And I think what was always exciting for me when I was a kid was when my dad was opening new doors for me, opening new words where I could investigate on my own. So give them a chance to grow here. I think that, you know, it is also important to look at the school that your children are going to. I have to say that I struggle a little bit living in Germany, where you would say, hey, you know, we are one of the most advanced nations, at least according to the statistics. But at school, I still do not see lots of evidence for very progressive trainings in this direction, even if it's fun. What I have to say from the positive perspective is that my 10-year-old daughter has already some programming lessons. So maybe one day Python will be introduced to her.
Right, right. And going back to the slide about the different levels of funding, so it's the one which says it makes a difference where you live. There are phenomenal differences between the levels of funding, aren't there? I wonder what that means for countries that are sort of really being left behind. It's a whole, you know, the opportunity loss is potentially going to be huge. What are your thoughts on that?
That's indeed the case. And I think a small representation of what is happening now around the world is how fast we are progressing with vaccination, right? Interestingly enough, some of the leading countries correspond with the list. That made me think really recently. And back to the AI, I think it is not only about agility, which we now see, you know, as a response to COVID and vaccination challenge. It is more about, you know, starting at the right level. So we spoke about children, right? How do I make them attracted to this new things. But then going to the university, how many degrees that offer AI courses can I absorb? Do I go to every university and have a chance to learn something? Right? Even arts can be created by AI. There's lots of startups around that. And I think it is quite important that the education already incorporates some of these elements. And while I live in pretty advanced country like Germany, I have a feeling that sometimes I see much more focus in countries that are not that equipped with means to execute. So especially for larger countries, it is a big question. How do I steer enough money towards education to enable embracing this area? Obviously, everybody is looking at the US, and here you see how powerful the numbers are. But look at China. Yeah? I'm not sure whether the number of AI startups captured here by this statistic is correct, but the investment is already significant. So it requires money. It requires motivation at every level, and then obviously it is also a question towards the governments. What is the future? How do I define the destiny of my country and the people that live there? Do I fund? Do I support going in this direction? And last but not least, obviously, enterprises. Right? I was working previously for a large technology company, and they were putting tremendous effort to bring AI not only to every level of the organization, but also look at the diversity and see how we as a company can support the communities we are operating in.
Right. And just moving on to the next slide, which is about total AI talent. That again, really, that picture tells us the story of how things are progressing in different nations. We run AI Accelerator to get more women into technology, into this particular field of technology. And, we see a lot of adverts that are for AI related jobs, and they sort of go on and on. I did a bit of research on the jobs market for my forthcoming book on AI in business, and there's clearly a shortage of skills. What are your thoughts on helping interest, or really people helping themselves get into this field, apart from what governments and companies can do?
That's a very difficult question, Sarah. I have to say that when I was preparing this short presentation, I stumbled upon a statistic that says, for instance, in AI, there's only 22% of females, and correspondingly 78% of males, right? So we see that driving diversity may help. It is also applicable to the other dimensions. Who do I hire, right? UiPath recently has launched an initiative to train handicapped individuals on building the bots, right? And the results are extremely encouraging. So I would say it is up to every individual to define, am I interested? Number one, what can I do? And then for those who have more influence and power to execute, this should be a mandate to make sure that you're preparing at least the stakeholders that you can positively influence for the future, giving them a chance to learn, giving them a chance to embrace what is coming, both on the practical front as well as on the imagination side. We are meeting lots of AI applications on a daily basis. Probably your mobile phone has most of it, right?
Yeah.
And you can talk to it. I have not seen many people dictating emails, but that's what I do with my phone, right? People look at me pretty strangely, but I love using the language recognitions, and I operate daily in 3 languages. So my challenge is, how do I switch between those? But now even this topic has been addressed. I recently asked Google, what's the weather like tomorrow, combining accidentally 2 languages, and the answer was correct. This is
Wow.
absolutely stunning.
Yes, yes. So it's it's also on us to actually use these technologies and become au fait with how they work. And sort of my bugbear, which is because we don't trust some technologies because of the issues with privacy and data sharing and those kinds of concerns, we're not necessarily using the technologies enough, and that is a kind of a problem for us because we're not getting the benefits of the technologies. At the same time, those technologies aren't learning as much as they can in order to improve. So that's very good advice there, Adam. Thank you. Okay, so I've got a lot more questions, but I'm going to open the Q&A session. So if you do have a question, please do use the questions panel on the control panel of the webinar set to post us any questions that you might have. I do have some more for Adam, and it's very much around, what initiatives countries and organizations could get involved with in order to help more people learn. So here in the UK, there's a lot of, the government is making a lot of noise about creating opportunities and creating bodies that will promote AI and help develop the industry here in the UK, and there's going to be funding available. And I know universities are doing a fantastic job of also sort of reaching out, doing outreach programs. Any thoughts on that, Adam? Any sort of examples that you've seen that is working well?
Absolutely. I don't want to advertise here, but Coursera has a pretty large set of AI trainings that everybody can embrace. Back to the universities that you mentioned, probably the best courses are at Stanford and MIT, but actually I see more and more coming, and with the COVID-19 situations, so much went into remote education that I'm pretty hopeful, right? Also, large technology companies like Google and Microsoft have tremendous offering that is available for free to those that are ready to learn. The governments, at least several of them, I hear, want to be a little bit more critical, have to catch up. Right, I have studied the offering of the employment office here in Germany, and actually you can educate yourself as UX designer, which they support, which is already a great advantage. They pay also for web development courses, but I have not seen anything related to AI, which would definitely help, right?
Right.
So
Right.
there is positive and negative side. Because I'm also a founder of a company. We have roughly 21 employees. I think it's also my responsibility to drive these topics. Right? We are very deep into this discussion because it's an inherent component of our product. Nevertheless, the diversity that you were talking about is something that occupies me on a daily basis. For instance, I cannot find many programmers that are female. Right? The best are taken already. Right. I would love to hire them, but we took revenge on the market and we said all testers have to be female, and our testing team is completely female.
Yeah. So we have a lot of questions coming in now, Adam. There's one which is about the rollout rate of AI in different applications in society to date. I think this is, the way I'm understanding this question is about rates of adoption of different technologies. And it's quite a tough question to answer without sort of market stats. I'm very happy to help with this one. I think do you have anything that you can share on this, or would you like me to?
I don't have it at hand, but if you could complement, that would be fantastic.
Sure. Yes. So what I'm seeing is a lot of the kind of uses that you've already mentioned, like the availability of voice activated commands and interfaces on personal devices, and as well as the kind of things that we're seeing, the type of development that we're seeing with Microsoft providing more capabilities for Cortana on the desktop to become a kind of assistant. In terms of society, I think we have seen huge adoption of AI for advanced analytics over this pandemic period in particular, where all different countries have needed lots of analysis and different ways of slicing and dicing pandemic related and medicine related data as well. So I hope this helps, but in terms of business, we are seeing certainly the biggest adoption seems to be in analytics, in applications of intelligent automation as well, for example, using intelligent document processing, voice and chat processing, conversational AI. Don't know if you have anything else to add, Adam.
I think when you look at the society, we'll probably have to not miss the face detection, the surveillance that that is happening, especially in large cities, is unbelievably has unbelievably advanced in the last years. You can trace individuals, and I think China is an absolute leader. From that perspective, when you count the number of cameras that are observing the population and what's happening, and it can have obviously negative impacts in terms of how do I deal with the privacy, but also a positive impact because you can very quickly uncover crimes and help police, for instance, to operate more impactfully.
Yes, yes.
The other dimension that I would like to talk about from my personal experiences, I lived before COVID. I was living on the plane, jetting between continents, and sometimes I was extremely tired because when you're changing time zones, it's absolutely critical. And I still remember driving for Christmas for 500 kilometers. And this was the moment where I took a conscious decision. I like driving. I think I'm a pretty reasonable driver, but I took a decision that I need a car that allows detection, of the distance between the car ahead of you, for instance, or a car that can respond to certain risks on the highway. I want to remind you that in Germany we have no speed limits. Right, so we tend to drive a bit faster, and even if you drive slower, there are others who drive much faster. So for the last 6 years, I've been driving cars that significantly improved in terms of AI application, and I have to say it's much safer. It's much more comfortable, and you're not as stressed after a long travel. So I have to say I benefit from it a lot.
That's fantastic. Yes, we have time just for one more question. There are other questions that we will do our best to answer after the webinar. But one question is in terms of investment in AI technologies beyond Facebook and Google, what kind of companies are investing in AI?
I think if we go to one of the slides that I was showing earlier, it is pretty clear that you see tremendous interest to deploy AI in medicine, right? The reason for that is very straightforward. There's not enough talent in this market, and there is obviously very diverse availability of advanced knowledge when it comes, for instance, to cancer detection. Right. So the idea is to train, and this is quite common now. There's lots of companies that deal with the problem of detection of cancer based on X-rays. You're helping the doctors that are extremely tired. Right. You can drive detection remotely, and with image recognition, you're obviously increasing the early detection, which is absolutely essential. We were talking about vehicles. You see also processing of patient data. The Western medicine has difficulties to discover all combinations between medicine taken from the moment you're starting to take more than 3-4 tablets. It is extremely difficult to predict what could be the side effects. So from that perspective, processing of patient data, and we run such an assessment for one of the leading companies in my previous career trajectory, where we were analyzing millions of documents every hour to make sure that the doctors receive recommendation in terms of potential risks of combining certain medical constellations, and giving them live input in terms of what could I prescribe to an individual patient because of the history of different illnesses, right? Trading is another area, but I don't want to go into it. We've seen lots of examples, especially recently, on small companies going absolutely ballistic on their stock rating in the market. Maps, something that is quite common. We are not appreciating it enough, but I think Google telling us or ways when we precisely arrive down to the minute is a huge help.
It is, absolutely. Well, thank you very much, Adam. That's been a very interesting presentation. Thank you for your time, and just a big thank you to everyone who's joined us today, and we'll do our best to answer any outstanding questions as well. Please join us again soon. We'll be setting up another AI Accelerator webinar, and we'll be letting you all know when that will happen. Thanks again. Thank you all. Goodbye.
Thank you very much. Goodbye.